Okay, on round 9 then, I'm going to be using this lovely mallard blue, and now you will see that it's starting to introduce elements of granny squares that are perhaps a little bit more traditional. These lovely clusters, we're putting those in to give it, to really bring it out to that square shape. So this is why we've got all that lovely structure in place. Let me show you how you get from here to here. Right then, here we go. So I'm using mallard, but obviously any colour of your choosing is fine. And we're going to start by joining the yarn into the stitch that we made at the tip of any of the petals. So that's the double crochet UK terminology, the single crochet US terminology. And we're going to pull up a loop in the same way as we've been doing all the way through, and securing that with a chain. And that's not going to count as our first stitch, but we have joined in that new yarn and we're ready to go. So we're going to start by putting a stitch in the same space or the same place, and we're going to make another UK double crochet or US single crochet. And that is it, and we are off. We're going to make one chain, and our first granny cluster, so our cluster of 3 stitches, and they're 3 trebles in the UK or 3 doubles in the US. Our first cluster is going to go into that center stitch of the 3 that we made on the previous round. It's a 3 that is sitting in that little loop that we made. So we're going to do our first granny cluster in there. So middle stitch, and it's 3, 1 and 2, hope you can see this, and 3. Okay, so we're off with our... Okay, we'll make one chain, and we're going to travel over, and we're going to now carry on, and we're going to work into that stitch again at the top of the next little petal that we made. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to make a corner in that little stitch, and let me show you what I mean by that. So we're going into that UK double crochet or US single crochet at the tip of the next petal, and we're going to make 3 trebles if you're in the UK, or doubles if you're in the US. 1, 2 and 3. So basically that's our next granny square cluster of 3 stitches, but we're going to make this a corner. So we're going to make 3 chained, come round the corner, and we're going to go back into that stitch with 3 more trebles if you're in the UK, or doubles if you're in the US. So it will start to look familiar to you in terms of what we're sort of used to seeing from a granny square, these lovely corners that we're all familiar with. Okay, there you go. You can see that we've created that corner, and let's carry on then. So 1 chain to travel us over, and that puts us in line with our next little group of 3 stitches holding on to that loop that we made, and we're going to put our next granny cluster into the center of those 3 stitches. So the second of the 3 stitches, just as we did before when we started. 1, 2. Now all of this is explained very neatly in the pattern. Don't forget to download it if you haven't yet. 1 chain to travel, and this petal we're just going to put 1 small stitch, so 1 double crochet if you're in the UK, or single if you're in the US, into the stitch that's already at the tip of that next petal. Okay, because you can see what's happening. We've made the corner, we've made the next cluster. We don't want to put a cluster in here because it'll be too small, it'll be too tall, it will be bumpy. We don't want that. We want to keep it nice and flat there. 1 chain to take us over, and now we're going to do our next cluster into the middle stitch of those 3 stitches. You can see the pattern happening. Let's just get to the next corner and you can see what it looks like. Okay, 1 chain to move us over, and we're now ready. If I take my hook out, you can see that we're now ready, aren't we, for our next corner. So same as before, our first cluster goes into the stitch that's at the tip of that little petal, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to just tell you, it doesn't seem to matter where I put my yarn. It will somehow get caught and tangled, and I apologise for it. So round the corner with our 3 chain, and our second cluster in the same place to make that corner. 1, 2, and 3. So let's just stop there and look at what we've done. Okay, great stuff. We started at the sort of flat point, if you like, so with a very small double crochet if you're in the UK or single crochet if you're in the US. We hopped over with our 1 chain and put our first cluster in, and those clusters on the side, they go into the middle stitch of the 3 that are in those little loops that we've made. Okay, 1 more chain to hop over. All our traveling chains here are just single chain, so we have 1 more chain to hop over. Then we put in our corner at the tip of the next petal. So 3 treble, 3 chain, 3 treble in the UK, or 3 double, 3 chain, 3 double in the US. 1 chain to hop over, in goes the next cluster. 1 chain to hop over, small stitch to keep it nice and flat at the tip of the next petal. 1 chain to hop over, in goes the next cluster, and so on. Okay, so you can see how it is taking that star shape and turning it now into our traditional granny square. So I'm just going to finish up making the rest of the sides, and then I'll see you at the end. Okay, last cluster. And we will finish by making 1 chain and then closing the round by slip stitching into the very first stitch we made. Now, if you're not changing colour here, then you're done. But we've got 1 more colour to get in. But before I'll just fasten this off, sorry. Before we move on, let's just have a look at what we've done. And we have created, I've got to get rid of those ends obviously, but we have created a square. Okay, we've created a square and we're nearly done. We're just going to outline it now, just give it a nice little outline, and then it is good to go. So that was round number 9. Let's move on to 10. Right then, here we go with our last round, and you will see on the left here, this is our completed Estella square. And what we're going to be putting on, you might just be able to discern that darker blue outline. And again, this is our 8th colour. You obviously don't need to use so many colours, but it's nice to be able to show you that with just that slight distinction of colour. And it is a small outline made using double crochet UK terminology or single crochet US terminology. And let me just show you, it's nice and simple, nice lovely way to end the block. Let me show you how it's done. Okay, we're going to start in any corner chain space by pulling up a loop of yarn, whoops, and securing it with a chain as we have all the way through, and that's not going to count as our first stitch. Okay, so our corners are made as follows: 2 double crochet, that's single crochet if you're in the US, then 1 half treble, that's 1 half double if you're in the US, and 2 more double crochet or single crochet if you're in the US. So let me just revisit that. It's 2 double crochet, 1 half treble, 2 double crochet for the UK, and that is 2 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2 single crochet if you're in the US. Okay, so that's how your corners are made. We are then going to do a double crochet in the UK or single crochet into the next 3 stitches, 1, 2 and 3, 1 into the chain space between those 2 clusters, 1 into the next 3 stitches, 1, 2 and 3. Oh, look, my yarn is making an appearance. Goodbye now. Okay, and then we are going to do 1 into the next chain space, we are going to skip that stitch. That is that short stitch that's at the center of each side. We're going to skip that, do nothing with that. Put one double crochet or single crochet the other side of that stitch, and then one into the next three. 1, 2, 3. One into the next chain space. You can see the pattern, can't you, already? One into the next 3. 1, 2, 3, and we're back at our corner. So 2 double crochet or single if you're in the US, 1 half treble or half double if you're in the US, 2 double crochet or single if you're in the US, and around you go again. So it's basically a stitch in every stitch and a stitch in every chain space, except that little center point here where we miss that one. We just do the stitches either side of it. Again, very clearly explained in the pattern, but let's just whiz along and we'll do it again together. So 3 in there, 1 in the next chain space, 3 in the next 3 stitches. So right across each cluster, you're putting a stitch in the top of each stitch of each cluster. 1 in that chain space. Now we're at that short point again on the side. We ignore that stitch at the top of that petal, go into the chain space on the other side, and then across the top, 1 into each stitch of the clusters. Off you go, and into the next chain space, and into each stitch of the next cluster. 1, 2, 3, and then back round the corner. So I'll finish that off. Okay, I'm coming along the last side now. So it's basically 1 stitch into every stitch and chain space except that little short stitch. I think I've already said this, haven't I? But you'll be able to read that on the pattern. Do download it if you haven't already. Love to see this. Can't wait to see your colour scheme. Said this right at the beginning as well, but it's always a joy to see how you interpret these things differently and what a difference it actually makes to the design in different colour palettes. So last 3 stitches now, 2, 3, and that's brought me back to the corner where I joined the yarn in. I'll just take that over to the back, and I'm going to close the round and fasten off for the last time by putting a slip stitch into the very first stitch that we made. Fasten that off, obviously sew in the ends, but there we go. There is our Estella square for Granny Square Day 2025. And sew in your ends and do have a think about blocking them. So look at the difference when they're blocked. See how this is curling and it's a little bit skewed. This is nice and flat. And let me just tell you how I blocked these. You've still got a little bit of a curve here, but it's less pronounced in real life, I promise you. So what I did with mine was I pinned them out on a folded up towel on my ironing board. And I sprayed and sprayed and sprayed them with a water bottle with just a little bit of soak in it, which is sort of detergent that you can use, very gentle detergent you can use for wool work. So I sprayed that so it was just damp, kept them pinned out, and they dried very happily overnight, and they dried nice and flat, but not so flat that you don't still see. If I turn it on the side there, you can see the lovely 3D effect of this particular block. So do block them if you can, because it makes such a difference to your work and it really will show it off to its fullest. So thanks for sticking with us and making our Estella block with us. We'd love to see them. Don't forget to tag us in when you post your pictures on social media, and have a very, very happy Granny Square Day.